We are live. Welcome everybody to Friday, March 5, just our daily touch base. See how you're doing. Welcome to the live stream. If anybody joins us, please ask questions, say hello. And in the meantime, I'm just going to do a fun little quick topic today. Hi to whoever joined. I wish this YouTube live stream would pop up and tell me who's on, but feel free to say hello, reach out. And if we have no other topics, I've been meaning to get to this story for maybe 10 days now. February 22 from the Wall Street Journal. Dominion sues MyPillow and CEO Mike Lindell over election claims. So before I start this, I just want to say up front, just so I'm, lessen the risk of being canceled and being demonetized. Not that I monetize, but I have no problem with the U.S. election. From last year that put President Biden in. I have zero problems with that election. I have no firsthand knowledge of any election irregularities, and I'm not claiming that at all. I'm just trying to cover an interesting story and draw a lesson or two from that story. So this from the Wall Street Journal. February 22, one of the largest makers of voting machines in the U.S. So this is, if you watch the U.S. political news, this is Dominion Software, who I think in the story, later in the story tells us runs about 40%, serves about 40% of the polling stations in the U.S. So a counting machine, basically. Sued a prominent supporter of President Trump, which is this Mike Lindell fellow from Minnesota who owns MyPillow and is probably one of the world's leading infomercial salesperson. He's just terrific at that job. Alleging that the businessman has defamed the company with false accusations and that it rigged, specifically that Dominion Software rigged the 2020 elections. Not me. I didn't say that. Don't cancel me. Dominion Voting Systems sued Mike Lindell, CEO of MyPillow, U.S. Seeking more than $1.3 billion in damages. $1.3 billion in damages. If this lawsuit is true, do you think Dominion Voting Systems suffered $1.3 billion damages because some dude that runs a pillow company said bad things about them? I'm a little bit skeptical on that, but let's come back to this point. In its complaint, the company cites a number of statements made by Lindell, including media appearances, social media posts, a 2-hour film claiming to, so he did a documentary for 2 hours on YouTube. I didn't watch it. I don't know what the claims are. They're not my claims. But I understand the documentary was fantastic, as you would expect from Mike Lindell. Did a 2-hour film claiming to prove widespread election fraud. Lindell helped produce the film, which he released online in February. I haven't looked it up. I do believe YouTube, I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that YouTube took that down, since you're not allowed to express your opinion on social media these days with your tech overlords. Did I say that out loud? Wasn't me. Wasn't me. The complaint alleges Lindell made false claims about the integrity of the voting machines, and he had no credible evidence supporting his claims that the company had stolen the election from Mr. Trump. What Dominion calls the big lie, quote unquote, so those are capitalized, defined term, the big lie, which of course is calling Mike Lindell akin to a Nazi, because the big lie was Nazi propaganda from World War II. And so Mike Lindell, in this statement of claim, is the same as a Nazi, and caused the company $1.3 billion in damages, according to them. Says that Mike Lindell was well aware that there were independent audits and paper ballot recounts conclusively disproving the big lie. But Lindell sells the lie to this day because the lie sells pillows. All right. I was an auditor for a living. Could independent audits and paper ballot recounts, would that be sufficient to test the integrity of a software of a voting counting machine? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. The answer is possibly. I will tell you this as a former financial auditor. Audits aren't designed to detect fraud. It is not possible for an audit to detect fraud. Audits can be tricked because audits are a system. And if you were a fraudster, you would find a way around that system. So that's not what audits do. But simply speaking, if a voting machine counted 1 million votes and 600,000 went for this candidate, candidate A, and 400,000 went for candidate B, you would think that somebody could manually take those million votes and count them and see if 600,000 went for candidate A and 400,000 went from candidate B. So if it's in the statement of claim that there was a bunch of independent audits and ballot recounts and that, disproves everything, is that true? I don't think we have any idea. I don't know that those audits even took place. I've never seen reporting on that. I've seen it, definitive reporting on that wasn't possibly being fake news. I'm not saying it was fake news. I'm just saying I have no idea. It's possible that audits can be tricked if there was intentional fraud. It's possible that the audits were done and that the audits were dead on correct, because it doesn't seem like brain surgery, as I said, to look at 1 million ballots and see if you can replicate the results that the voting machine gave you. So maybe that's true. I like this part though. Sells the lie to this day because the lie sells pillows. So this Mike Lindell and My Pillow has lost, I think in an interview I saw somewhere else, he's lost 22 retailers, like significant retailers like Bed Bath & Beyond don't carry his pillows anymore. Kohl's, I think it is, US retailer, Kohl's, sorry, K-O-H-L-S, doesn't carry his pillows anymore. Specifically because of this issue, specifically because they don't want to be associated with somebody who is spreading election integrity concerns. There is zero chance that he is doing this to sell pillows. In fact, I would suggest that this has cost him a fortune, and he, in separate interviews, has said that this has cost him a fortune. In an interview, Mike Lindell said he's very, very, very happy to learn from about the lawsuit. He says, I have all the evidence on them, and now this will get disclosed faster, and all the machines and the attack on our country. So what does that mean? So here's where things, I think, become very fascinating. You're dealing, you feel aggrieved, as Dominion Voting Software feels that they've been aggrieved, that they've been defamed. And so what they do is they turn it into, with a $1.3 billion lawsuit, they turn this into a national headline story. They go after quite possibly the best salesman on the face of the earth, the most persuasive fellow on the face of the earth, and they open themselves up for disclosure. What does disclosure mean? Well, how do you prove defamation? If he says that your software is corrupt, and he's correct, is that defamation? No. If he says it's corrupt and it's not corrupt, well, that could be defamation, right? I'm not a lawyer, but that's my layman's understanding of it. You guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong. At the end of the day, to prove the suit, you have to prove that your software is not corrupt. You have to prove that he's wrong. Well, how do you do that? I mean, he has a right as a defendant to dive into the software, to dive into the code, to have experts look at this. And so Dominion Software, who it seems to me, from what I read in the media, and all of it on both sides, the left and the right, it could all be fake news. But what I'm understanding from the media is, the Dominion Software has fought very hard, as I understand it, to protect their code and to not have anybody review it, to not have any audits. And it's been a great sense of concern for roughly, actually more than half the country, because more than half the country, according to polls, think that there was a problem with the election. And now, as a result of this lawsuit, what they have to do, seems to me, is they got to give the number one salesman, the most persuasive fellow on the face of the earth, access to their code so that he can substantiate the claims that he made against them. Whereas in the absence of this lawsuit, he would never have access to that information. So I find that part very interesting. Dominion's lawsuit accuses Lindell of repeatedly and falsely alleging that the algorithm stole votes from Trump. That's what I just said. How do you prove that's false? Well, you dive into the algorithm, okay? And you dive into the algorithm not as it exists today, but as it exists back in November. We'll see if that's even possible. Dominion says the allegations by Lindell and others have irreparably damaged its reputation. Have it? If you believe in the audits, if you believe that the audits that you say happened completely support the results of the software, the algorithms doing the count, then has this permanently and irreparably damaged your reputation? Maybe. Seems odd to me, but it seems a little internally inconsistent, this statement of claim. Jeopardize contracts with local governments, prompting death threats and harassments against employees. I'm certain that goes both ways. I'm certain the MyPillow people have experienced the same thing. Company says that it supplies election equipment used by more than 40% of U.S. voters. We covered that already. All right. Where are we here? Last month, Dominion filed defamation suits against Rudy Giuliani. So Mike Lindell and MyPillow are not the only ones. He went after Giuliani, who is a Trump attorney at the time. And he also went after Sidney Powell, another Trump attorney. Mr. Giuliani said he would use the lawsuit to investigate Dominion. And the suit represented an opportunity, and that the suit represented an opportunity to censor him. Ms. Powell, Sidney Powell is female. Ms. Powell had said that she didn't publish any statement that she knew was false, and that she has credible evidence of problems with Dominion. Despite repeated warnings, I think that's enough. We've covered this plenty, and we're 12 minutes in. So let's get to the point. Why am I raising this? Why do I find it interesting? Again, I personally have zero credible evidence of anything wrong with Dominion software. They're probably the greatest voting software on the face of the earth. When you see two parties litigate each other so publicly, is it because they intend to get in front of a judge and have the judge help them settle their dispute? What is the motivation of Dominion voting software? Is it to collect $1.3 billion from Mike Lindell? What do you think the chances of that are? I'm going to suggest that that's pretty low. Not that they don't have a case, I have no idea, but to actually go and collect $1.3 billion is clearly not the point of this claim, it would seem to me. Instead, they were getting a lot of pressure in the media. A lot of people don't trust their system. There's also all sorts of conspiracy theories about their ownership chain, all of which I'm going to assume is false. So what do they get? They get a big headline by going after a high-profile guy. They get a big headline with a big number, which causes other people to think in the persuasion realm, like, wow, this Mike Lindell's really in trouble. These guys hit back. That, to me, might be the motivation for this, because I don't think it's to collect 1.3 billion is the motivation to protect their reputation and to start persuading people that there is no truth in this by putting a really big number on it. Do you get the sense by suing the other parties? I think I tweeted this out a couple of weeks ago when this started happening, that just, you got Lindell, Ms. Powell, Rudy Giuliani. I believe there was other defendants in similar suits from Dominion voting software. Does it seem to you the lady doth protest too much? There's something more going on here, it seems to me. And on the Lindell side, he's accepted this, well, not that you get to accept the lawsuit, but he's excited about the lawsuit. He may have orchestrated the lawsuit. Why? To get the disclosure. Because there's no doubt that Dominion voting software is going to fight this. But at the end of the day, if they want their claim to go forward, they need to provide disclosure to Mike Lindell, and disclosure includes the algorithms. That's pretty interesting. When you look at lawsuits, don't assume that in business and particularly when things are high profile, that the ultimate motivation is to go and get a judge to give you an award to collect $1.3 billion. Maybe you want that. Maybe you want the $1.3 billion, but there's other motivations. There's a persuasion element of this. There's a disclosure element of this. Litigation is often used, not by me, of course, I would never do that, but is often used as a tool in negotiation, in public opinion, in manipulation of public opinion. And if you talk to some lawyers, they'll tell you, there's another thing to remember, you can say whatever you want in a statement of claim, and that is a legal way. That is a legal way to slander anybody you want. Okay, you could sue them. Well, some lawyers will advise you of this. I would never do it. Some lawyers would advise you could sue them. You can write whatever you want in a statement of claim because it's just an allegation. It's not proven, and they can write whatever they want in a statement of defense and in a counterclaim. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you as you follow these stories or you're in business? It means just because it's in the headlines, or if it's in the headlines, it's probably not true. Nothing has been proven. There's another agenda here, more than likely, and the agenda is to persuade you into thinking something, both ways, on both sides. All right, I just wanted to cover that. I thought that was a fun story. I think this is going to be interesting. I know the whole world's moved on from the election, but I am curious. I'm curious to see where this all heads. Hope you all had a great week. This has been Martinis with Scott. Please subscribe on the channel, and I'm looking forward to the weekend. I hope you have a great weekend as well, and we will talk next week.